Let's tackle now the meat of this research. This section is focused on a quantitative assessment of the e-learning opportunity. Miscellaneous market KPIs are assessed like market size, trend, and competitive landscape. A first KPI for e-learning market is the volume of online searches. This is performed for keywords around e-learning market like online learning, Coursera, Udemy, edX. The reported numbers are expressed in log scale. This is performed among strategic countries like United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, India, Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico. The reported numbers show high popularity of the reported keywords. This is particularly true for the main online platforms of e-learning like Coursera and Udemy. These platforms are searched organically 10 million times per month. Different open data sources are used in order to assess the e-learning market size, trend, and geographic segmentation. And this purpose, the e-learning market is searched for some key countries. Then the global geographic segmentation is estimated by using the per country GDP. The latter is reported from open data from the World Bank. In this framework, the global e-learning market is assessed at $59 billion. The US is a major market for e-learning. Developing countries like India, Brazil, Argentina, and Mexico represent also a big opportunity among this market. Let's then dive deeper into these key strategic markets. The exhibited figure reports the KPI called the Geo Index. Geo Index reports the ratio between e-learning market size in a given country and the average e-learning market size. Consequently, the Geo Index is a metric for assessing the degree of e-learning importance in a given country. The case where Geo Index equals to 1 would correspond to a case where the local e-learning market size is neutral. The case Geo Index equals to 0.5 would correspond to the case where the local e-learning market size is relatively weak with respect to the average value of the market. And the case where Geo Index, on the other hand, equals to 2 would correspond to a case where the local e-learning market size is relatively strong with respect to the average value of the market. For instance, the reported figure shows that the Indian e-learning market is very developed and dynamic. Indeed, the Indian market is 4 times more developed than the average e-learning markets of the other countries. On the other hand, and surprisingly, the Chinese market seems to be less than 1/3 developed than the other countries. The Chinese market represents then a big opportunity market. On the other hand, more investigations should be conducted in order to determine why the Chinese e-learning market is that weak. Let's then take a look at the e-learning market subcomponents. The e-learning market can be divided into 4 main components. The most 2 important components are supplementary education and higher education that represent more than 2/3 of the global e-learning market. Comes then the primary and secondary e-learning market, which occupies a very decent quarter of the global market. Finally, and somehow surprisingly, the e-learning for languages and for language training occupies the last rank among the reported components. These quantitative assessments are performed based on a post-processing and combination of data from different sources. The geographic segmentation of each e-learning market component is reported. This is started by the supplementary education market that occupies a global value of $24.6 billion. North America leads the market with a local market value of $6 billion. Comes then the high education e-learning market that occupies a global value of $17.5 billion. North America leads again the market with a local market value of $4.5 billion. The surprising primary and secondary e-learning market occupies a global value of $13.5 billion. North America leads the market with a local market value of $3.5 billion. Finally, language training e-learning market occupies a global value of $4 billion. North America leads the market with a local market value of $1 billion. Studying market numbers without mastering the audience behind that same market is almost worthless. Indeed, knowing the main characteristics of a market audience is key. Audience study make it possible to better speak to the target audience, to better understand and to better serve it. The current audience study is performed using a key lean market research technique, which is audience insights from Facebook. The audience study reports that e-learning market is evenly interesting both genders. On the other hand, the age representation is different in both genders. Indeed, the main age concentration for women is between 23 and 44 years old, and the main age concentration for men is between 18 and 34 years old. This may be explained by social constraints that women may face in some cultures and societies. An example for these situations is when women seek to adapt their career paths and related skills after having their kids. On the other hand, males seem to leverage e-learning at earlier stages and leave it also at earlier stages by comparison to women. Finally, regarding personal situation, e-learning is interesting mainly young adults and engaged people. E-learning is also witnessing a major usage by undergraduate students. This is consistent with the former values of the e-learning market, where supplementary education and higher education occupied the highest ranks. After focusing on the demand side, let's now take a look at the supply side. This is done through a scanning of the main competitive landscape of the market. In this purpose, an additional Answer the Public study is performed. The study outlines the main competitors and e-learning platforms. Further, in the current report, the reader will access to a quantitative assessment regarding the importance of the main players. Among the e-learning solutions, the major three platforms are studied. The major three that are studied are Coursera, Udemy, and Udacity. The comparison is done with respect to the total funding raised by each of these platforms. In the study, Coursera occupies the first place, followed by Udemy, then Udacity. A roughly estimated annual revenue of the major platforms confirms that Coursera and Udemy are the market leaders. On the other hand, these two leaders are estimated to make $600 million in 2021. This number represents barely 1% of the global e-learning market, as showed previously. This ratio shows that the e-learning market is highly fragmented. This fact confirms that this market is constituted mainly by many and small players. This conclusion confirms the intuition that e-learning is highly occupied by online entrepreneurs, whether in single mode or small groups mode. The major players, as well as the smaller ones, use different sorts of business models for monetizing e-learning. Some players use a combination of several of these business models. These business models can be summarized in four main groups: certification, tuition fees, HR services for corporations, in addition to digital advertising and affiliation. Based on the current study, the e-learning market represents a nice opportunity for the next few years. The studied market is also witnessing few opportunities that correspond to its current weaknesses. Indeed, a weakness of a market can be seen as an opportunity for entrepreneurs, since it's by definition a pain point to be resolved. First opportunity is to develop new e-learning solutions for improving the current completion rates. Indeed, low completion rates is a major weakness for e-learning today. New solutions enhancing the engagement of online students like coaching, better collaboration systems, or creative incentives are definitely potential opportunities for e-learning. An additional opportunity for e-learning industry is the development of new assessment methods. Indeed, since the ratio between online teachers and online learners is very low with respect to traditional learning, new ways for examination and assessment are required. The assessment should be efficient and credible at the same time. Enhancing sociability and relationship related to e-learning is also a great opportunity for the new generations of e-learning platforms. IT robustness and user experience or UX are also key and can be enhanced in this way. Indeed, the digital experience is vital when dealing with e-learning. Finally, during the current pandemic era and increasing mindset shift towards greener and healthier lifestyles, e-learning is definitely a great fit for a such vision of the future of mankind. The reported chart outlines a major pain point, hence an interesting opportunity for digital entrepreneurs. Regarding e-learning, which is completion rates. Indeed, only 13% of online students go until the full completion of their courses.